You know, it's very rare that I actually do something like this, but I thought I'd show this since I've recently talked about Ishinomori, and one of the things that I mentioned was he was one of my inspirations as a writer. Now I'm going to show you why he's such an inspiration to me as a writer. Now, what I did here was, of course, many of the stories that I did write besides my own. I am going to show you exactly what stories what stories I did based off of what he made. And believe it or not, this was like one of the very interesting works I ever did done as a fanfic. And as soon as it shows up and as soon as it loads, thank you. I'm just gonna pull this up like so. And as you can see, yeah, this is one of the works that inspired me to become a writer. And I actually did this a few years ago, and it was based off the anime and the manga of the same title, but I simply called it Cyborg 009 Return of the Black Ghost. And as you can see, the storyline was like this. It was right after the manga, more like if it was a what if, like right after the manga and or anime. I think it might have been like the last one, like the 2000 one. But really, I actually did all this, what you're looking at right now. Because really, when the show was out, I did catch a glimpse of Cyborg 009 before I ever heard of his death. And it struck me as funny because I never really finished I never really finished watching the new Cyborg 009 show. So to me, I was like, well, I don't know. I mean, how did it end? And I never did find out what happened until until much later, and I actually found a fan sub of the series. Now, the fan sub wasn't all that good, but I understand the story very well because I watched most of the series. But the thing was, it was one of his works, one of his best works, aside from Kamen Rider, which I am about to show you in a bit. And it was really funny. I saw the ending of it, and after after which there was a special right after that, but I don't think it was. But I never saw the ending of it, and it followed right after the ending of the series. For if anybody actually saw the series and saw the ending of it, it was terrible. But anyway, yeah, I actually wrote all this up. This is about it had every it. I'll say this, it had everyone. It was kind of like Osamu Tezuka's star system, except if he was still alive, I would have just gave him this storyline, and for some reason just say, could you maybe look at my work? But as you can see, I really should fix that. There. Well, let's see. I know I'm scrolling a bit too fast. And actually doing this while I'm actually looking at all this. Funny, isn't it? Yes, that I've seen, I've seen at one point Kikaida. Well, rather Jinzo Ningen Kikaida, I should say that. I've also seen Hakaida, and yeah, this story has Jinzo Ningen Kikaida 009, Kamen Rider, oh, and also had Battle Fever J. No, not Battle Fever J. Jaka. Why did I say Battle Fever J? Jaka. That's what I showed in the picture before. I didn't mention Jaka. My apologies. Sometimes actually go back to my when I go back to my works, I usually do this. I usually just edit parts that should be and should not be. So yeah, that's the show of a good writer. A good writer always goes back to his old works. So what I did was I written this up, and this is about maybe what? Let me scroll down. This was about yeah, 190. And yeah, I had to point this little part out here. It says here, if I can just bring this up like so. This story is faithfully dedicated to the father of tokusatsu past, present, and future, Shotaro Ishinomori. May the world never forget your greatness for generations to come. I had to do that because really, as a writer, you had to give credit where credit is due. You can't just say, "Oh, well, I made that story." I did not make that story. I simply said, "Okay, this is what if he was still alive, I present this story to him as a gift." So this is Cyborg 009, and what I'm also about to show is a story that I kind of worked on as well, which is also an Ishinomori original story, and I'm kind of still working on this. And it's a mini series. It's called The Legend of the Four Forgotten Riders. And one of the things I worked on was I worked on one that was kind of based off a existing Kamen Rider, but totally different. Now the one I actually finished, and this is the only one I actually finished, which was called Kamen Rider Onimusha. And Kamen Rider Onimusha was somewhat if I were to actually describe how Onimusha was, he would look like Hongo Takashi in the face, a bit of Hongo Takashi and Godai Yusuke in the face and body, and well, in rider form, he would somewhat look like a bit of Kuga and Hibiki. That's right. He would look like Kuga and Hibiki. Excuse me. But yes, I am still working on this story. I'm not working on this part, but I am working on a different writer. I should really save that. I know I am doing this right now, and if I were to read a bit of this, I think I'm just gonna skim down to where where it needs to be, where I would like to read it off at. If you guys don't mind me reading from my own story, I think I'll just I'll just read it right here. I'll just read from here the first parts of the story. Okay, from chapter 7. I think it's chapter 7. I'm not sure. But this one is about him actually gaining his cycle, as it were. But in this case, a horse. It's called Arais Bishaimon, Cho Bishaimon. Yamato's journey has brought him as far as the Tosan area, his lush and lavish forest with very little land, mass, making it, making it the backdrop for the destined meeting of the minds. Venturing further, a voice echoed with the clearing as Yamato paused for a moment, listening intently to the stillness of nature. The faint sound of bells chimed in the distance as they were ringing in one area. Then slowly around them, they faded thereafter. Following that was the sound of hooves loudly stamping nearby. Although by the sound of these hooves, they were quite different as Yamato heard the sound of thunder coming towards him, as if a storm was brewing. As the sky changed from blue to black, he felt his heart quicken as the sound grew closer towards him. Trying to keep his composure, he placed his hand on the hilt of his sword, readying himself for an inevitable battle that was to be taking place. He continued to witness to the event. Continued to be witness to the event that was happening as nature was changing. A flash of lightning struck the ground as Yamato moved out of harm's way, evading the sudden attack. It was then that, standing in the distance, was an ethereal being in the shape of a dark stallion. With blood-red eyes, it gave a cold stare at Yamato, while snorting out fire while its hooves were surrounded by small tornadoes cutting the wind with each step. Humans are not allowed on this sacred ground. State your business, boy, or fear my wrath. Yamato stood his ground as the horse snorted fire at him in hopes of burning him alive, guarding him, guarding himself against the flame attack. He kept his eyes transfixed on the creature, regardless of the pressure of the tremendous heat enveloping him. I am Bishamon no Tatsumaki, the wrath of nature, calamity of chaos of calamity, and harbinger of dissonance. At last, Yamato met the legendary stallion, Chobishaimon no Tatsumaki, or Bishaimon the mighty hurricane, but was seen as a threat to the V-sides. He struggled to keep his focus. He tried to step forward, but in doing so, the flames got higher in response to his sudden movement. A familiar voice entered Yamato's mind as he continued his struggle with the spirit beast. He felt his knees buckle as the heat was draining him of his energy. Knowing this, knowing that this might be the end for him and his cause for this journey. Yamato, don't give up. He found himself on a different plane as was curious about its surroundings, as well as the voice called out to him. Suddenly, the jewel on Yamato's flash flickered as the Afro being came into shape and resembled the form of its previous master. Hattori, who is this? Do not fear, my son. I am here with you. Always have been. Slowly rising to his feet, Yamato bowed in respect to him. As the shadow appeared from the mist as an old man with two swords strapped to his back. He happened to be none other than the great swordsmith of all Japan, the elusive Hanzo Hattori. You are my father? albeit stunned at the great sword master as his father. Yamato listened to the words as he explained everything to him. Yamato, the reason why I went into hiding was because of my skill mastering, enhancing my any blade to its full potential. You, my son, have inherited this power. Hattori is your true name. He looked to his father with a sense of overwhelming power starting to flow within himself, drawing his own sword from its sheath. Hanzo pointed his blade out to his son's heart with a serious look. Yamato, why do spirits like I exist? Yamato drew his sword in defense as he clashed with his father with a smirk on his face. When all else fails, hope prevails. Sheathing his blade awakened his true self, breaking all ties with revenge, vengeance, and all other motives that had evil intent in them. As Hanzo vanished, Yamato stood up with renewed strength as he stood calm and still facing Bishamon. The beast horse neighed wildly as he charged straight at him. The fire of vengeance only makes the wind of justice stronger. Bishamon, guardian of this forest, I need your aid. Bishamon kept charging at him in blind rage, unable to hear his plea. He stood calmly as he drew into a different henshin pose by sweeping a low circle on the ground and a mighty palm thrust outward, his body enveloped by a calm wind. Just as the stallion charged him a final time, the shock of the force blew him away against the tree as a new form of the feudal rider appeared just as the shield died down. His armor had the colors of red, yellow, and orange, with a belt of it, having a new sign on the buckler, read as Musou, along with his face mask optics changed into a full visor. Stand down, vengeful one. I came not to fight you, but to ask for your assistance in a matter of great urgency. Shamon listened intently to the situation about Hideyoshi's plot to conquer Japan, the Soldan, and his true intention of being here. He agreed to help him, since his bravery has proven him strong to tame even the most wildest of beasts. With a snort of fire and a neigh of thunder, they galloped back to the battlefield, riding on a trail of wind. Yeah. Yeah, that's enough. I think I've said enough right there. But anyway, far be it from me to tell you that yes, I am a writer, and because of what Ishinomori actually means to me, of all the other stories I've actually read and done, I think there was some more in here. I'm not sure. No, there wasn't. Just The Legend of Four Writers under my real name, which you kind of saw, but you kind of not saw. But anyway, the point is that yes, I follow after the great masters of their craft, and I don't mind following under the great masters of their craft because, like I said, that's how I actually became a writer. Is because of Ishinomori's influence that led me to do hero stories and add some drama to the story thereof, in which you just heard. But anyway, as I stated before, so you think you know anime? Well, if you didn't know about anime, you know it a lot more deeper now, since I've shared exactly what I do here online, as well as me playing video games and whatnot. This is what I do. I'm a writer, and because of Ishinomori, that's what I that's my job. So anyway, I wish you guys a good night, a good morning, a good wherever you are. I have been the Tenkaichi of Gaming, PI7, And that's it. I'll see you around.